So, so let's go ahead and first let's answer a couple questions on the way here. Someone asked, how do you currently pull probate lists?
There's a few different ways. PropStream, it could be one. Supposedly they're daily. I don't know. I haven't tested them. Propelio, you can pull a list from there. Supposedly it's daily. You can manually go to the county site and do it manually there. You can do that too. You can pay paid services. They'll do it. There's companies out there like Real Estate IQ and stuff like that that supposedly do it on a daily basis. And all that. They all, unless you're doing it yourself, you could build a robot and you can do it yourself. And that's probably the most effective way of keeping control of it. You can buy them. You can buy them from better places and worse places. That you're gonna have to play with. One of the biggest risks with probate lists is that you can buy them and they could be a 1 month old and you don't know. And if they're 1 month old, I already smoked you. You have no chance.
Let's pause there for a second, because this is something I've been really trying to hold on people, like just smash into people's brains. Why, if it was a month old, are you going to smoke them?
Oh man, I already hit that person like 3 different ways and pretty persistently. And if they are going to sell and it's a low hanging fruit, we talk to them already. And there's probably like 50 people like me in this city doing the exact same thing I'm doing. So yeah.
First to market, baby. Like first to market, man. That's the way to go. So you actually pull probates daily.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So every day, that day, it's getting pulled and it's getting called. If you don't reach them, you follow up. You don't reach them, you send direct mail. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you don't even wait until they don't like a few days. I think if you don't get a hold of them that first day or so, you send direct mail right away, don't you, or something?
I send direct mail daily on the daily leads. If I don't find them right there and then, if I don't have a phone number for you, then I'm sending you a card. And there's a process for that too. I send a card, and that way when it gets returned, then what you guys call the deep prospecting and all that, that's when it begins. Because I know I don't have phone numbers, I know I don't have a correct address, and there's something wrong. And then all the return mail, and I send a card strategically because it's easy for us to print a card versus a letter that we have to fold a few times and send up the follow-ups. Now we know we have the right address, or at least that it's not getting returned, and we put a more expensive letter up out in the mail.
Gotcha.
A lot of stuff that I just dropped right there, but
we'll kind of break it down a little bit, because we're gonna actually go through a typical day in the business in a bit. But what is like an intro sound like if you're calling a probate? Like, brand new call, someone picks up. What does that sound like?
Yeah, so for us, we follow a pretty typical response, and it depends on the style of the person. Right now, our cold caller is doing it out of Philippines, and the way they should be doing it, because I followed up with it. We just call. We always answer by their name, because the mentality behind it is what you guys really have to get through. I don't care to get the list right now. All I'm trying to do is find out if I have the right person to the right house. I'm not trying to get under contract. That's the next step in the sales cycle. The number one step in the sales cycle is, do I have the right number? Because if I can have a yes to that, then I can follow up to that person later. And it's important that they understand that part, because I feel like people are trying to sell right away on the first call. And per sales, most of the time, they're not going to sell to you on the first introduction. They're going to sell to you once you touch them 8 times later down the line, 7 or 8 times. So the follow-up is even more important. So to answer your question, if I was going to call you, I would call you exactly like this, because I want to sound different, even from the Philippines. I'll be like, "Hey, Tyler, what's going on? How are you?" And then if you say anything, you feel compelled to answer properly. And then they're like, "Who is this?" Then I probably know I have the right person. Otherwise, they'll tell me right away, "Man, you have the wrong number." Then we'll go right back into it's like, "Oh, yeah, we give expressions like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have told you. Yeah, you actually probably don't know me, Tyler. But the reason I was calling you is because I've been buying some property in your area, and I really would like to take a look at yours and see if you've been considered selling." And then I wait for your response. And but the key here is your delivery. Is not the script. I think people get so caught up with the script. If you can be conversational from the beginning, you already stood out from the 8 other people that are doing the exact same shit that I'm doing, the exact same thing, the exact same day. There's a lot of clever people in this big city. So you got to be really good at what you're doing. So if they're calling with their VA saying, hi, is this the owner? Can I speak to the owner of 123 Main Street, please? They already know it's a sales call. They don't want to mess with you. So just by addressing them casually, not as a robot or as a sales call. Anything you do, you cannot sound like a sales call. If you sound like a sales call, it's an automatic hang up because they got 12 people calling that same day. Now, if they do answer the phone or they do reply, then okay, now we know we have the right person. We can hit them in other ways. But if they don't reply, we always call again, and then it's the automatic voicemail. And the voicemail the exact same way that we try to do. We try to sound very casual. Hey, what's up, Tyler? How you doing, man? Hey, give me a call back when you get a chance, all right? XYZ 345, da da da. And the point when you're leaving the voicemail is to create curiosity. Like, who the f is this person? How do they know me? And then they want to call you back or text you back. Hey, who's this?
Because why? Because you're trying to get the correct number, right? You're trying to figure out if it's the right person.
Exactly, because I'm trying to get the correct number. I'm not trying to buy a house. I'm trying to make sure I have the right person.
Yep.
Then same thing with a text message. If I leave a voicemail, I immediately send a text message. And the only reason for that is because we don't mass dial. We're only doing individual air call, dial into person to people specifically. We don't do any mass calling because our list is so manageable. The text message is the same thing. I'm not going to say anything about buying your house. I'm just going to say like, hey, Tyler, what's going on? Give me a call if you're working or whatever. Yeah. And then they'll be like, who is this? It's like, oh, it's Jaime. How are you doing, buddy? Or whatever. Just a casual conversation. So they can tell me you have the wrong number or you have the right number. And then at that point, we go back to our REISift and we mark it as a wrong number, and then we don't mess with that anymore.
Perfect. So. I love it. Hopefully that answered your question on what talking to a person looks like.
Long-winded.
Right? That's great, right? To the whole process there. I mean, it's really important. Someone asked, could you do the same with divorce instead of probate, first to market to divorces?
Absolutely. You can do this. It's not the list at all. You're going to get good at your list eventually, but the strategy is the same. The strategy is the same no matter what list. You name it, code enforcement, driving for dollars, divorce, fire things. I mean, it doesn't matter. They all have motivation. There's leads in all of them. It's just that you're going to get really good at talking on the phone. You're going to get really good with your marketing. So a sales letter should speak to the person, because if you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to no one, if that makes sense. Even with cold calling, if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So once you get into the more intricate conversations, then you understand, and the rebuttals that people are going to give you are all the same. Well, my wife died, or oh, they left us this property, my parents, or oh, I have 20 people in my, that I have to deal with. So you get a lot of the same. If you're calling code enforcement, it's like, well, yeah, the city won't stay on my ass and they want to kick me out. And so you get really good at dealing with that kind of stuff. So whatever list you pick, just become good at it. If you're going to go the route that I'm going, which is niche, and be good at it for them.
Yeah, and I think to address that now, I think it's really good for companies, whether you're large or small, to at least have 1 to 3 niches that you're focusing on. And then if you want to also do the mass dialing on top of that, feel free, right, to have some leads getting kicked in and just people that are interested in selling, and more than anything, just getting more correct numbers for properties that you can follow up on. Like, that's totally okay. But it's really important to be market resistant. You need to be able to have specific niches that you control that, you can rely on consistently. And like, moving from foreclosures to probate, it's the same process, more or less, in terms of how you're marketing to them. It's just a different sales cycle that you may need to understand and control. And then they still understand the foreclosure side and still have to sometimes deal with those when they're dealing with probates, right? Because there is some overlap there sometimes. But it's about being consistent in your niche and then scaling outside of that. as you decide to do that, or scaling inside of that, not outside of that. And what I mean by that is Jaime could just pop up to Dallas with probates, pop over to San Antonio with probates, and you can just go Texas wide with probates. Probates are probates in Texas, right? It's Texas law. And so if he wanted to expand, he could literally triple his operation by literally just focusing on probates, much like one of the individuals I spoke to the other day that's about to do $2 million in Tennessee off of just foreclosures, right? Would not do anything. It blew my mind, right? They pull foreclosures daily, just like Jaime does with probates. And I was like, holy crap, you're the Tennessee Jaime. And it's a beautiful thing, right? Okay. Vinny, he was saying that when they call the seller's phone number, they say the seller's name. The reps will give their name once the seller asks. They don't say, hey, it's Jaime, or hey, it's Tyler. Is this Johnny? They don't do that. Oh, they say, hey, Johnny.
And very important, we call on the executor. That's the person that goes as a contact in our REISift. I know people like to put the owner, the deceased person. But honestly, there's nothing more embarrassing than calling, that person and them telling you like, he passed away already. No. It just puts it in a negative conversation.
What if you don't have an executor yet?
Well, you always will, because there's always somebody appointed. The reason we know it's a probate is because they filed with the county.
Oh, so you're not doing any pre-probate. It's already been filed with the county, and there's already a contact in place.
Yeah.
Interesting. So in the state of Florida, when somebody can file a probate, but the PR isn't assigned until like a few weeks into the probate process, so they might not have that info.
Well, the executor is not assigned, but the person, whoever is put the petition, is probably going to be the executor, which is the person that's going to be attached. Yeah.
Very interesting. So that's a good advantage. You want to know another advantage? Just a quick gem for everybody that. Somebody locally here, I'm about to sell his gem live here accidentally, well, purposely, I guess. I never really put 2 and 2 together on this because we haven't pulled them in a long time. But evictions, I forgot that evictions have the evictor's phone number on it. When you file for an eviction, you got to put your phone number on it so that you can be contacted about the eviction, and that's publicly on the doc. And so when you pull evictions, you actually get the direct phone number to the owner of the property, or whoever's filing for the eviction. If it's self-owned, it's better. If it's a property management company, you're probably dealing with a property management company, right? But if you look for it to not be a property management company that's assigning it, you can get those free phone numbers directly, definitely verified right from the county when pulling eviction lists. So another really good first-to-market situation. One of the deals that I've been showing that I did live and I've been talking about, the duplex developmental deal, came from an evictions first to market.